evening to you. Weekend just around the corner for some of us. April 24th, 1987. Lassiter with you until 11, as I am every Monday through Friday, right here at News Talk 57 WPLP, and of course every 4th or 5th Saturday. And guess what? Next Saturday, not tomorrow, but the Saturday after that, happens to be a 4th or 5th Saturday, so we shall be with you from 9 in the morning until noon, and that should be exciting, because that means we will be doing the program with the best 4 hours of sleep under our little belts, and it should be quite a raucous affair. I feel certain it will offend the FCC and probably a lot of other people, too, but that's what you get when you bring a guy back in with 4 hours of sleep to do a talk show. In any event, we're going to be open tonight right on through to the 11 o'clock hour. A handful of things, nothing terribly traumatic that I want to bring to your attention. One thing I do want to bring up, and I'm not going to belabor this point, but for the benefit of those who did not hear the 10 o'clock hour last night, a very brief explanation of what I have gotten myself into, if you will. Yesterday evening, right before I went on the air, right before I left the house, actually, I received a call from a friend, Neil Rogers at WINZ in Miami, to tell me about a campaign that he has started, and he invited me to join in on it. So Neil Rogers at WINZ, Jerry Williams at WRKO, and myself, Bob Lassiter, here at good old Tampa Bay, WPLP, are asking people to enter a campaign that is being called SOFAR, S-O-F-A-R, Save Our First Amendment Rights, to petition the Federal Communications Commission to rescind its shotgun ruling of April 1987. And what we are asking you to do is to send in a self-addressed stamped envelope, a legal-size stamped envelope, self-addressed, and you shall receive by return mail a petition with a place on it for 25 names asking the Federal Communications Commission to rescind its order concerning indecent radio. The primary reason behind this is no one is in favor of indecent radio. I'm more than aware of that. But the Commission has failed to tell us what indecent radio is, and it is obviously a scare tactic. It is obviously a very broad brush intended on the part of a handful of people to intimidate the industry. It is a clear-cut case of an abuse of the First Amendment in this nation. It is aimed primarily at Pacifica Broadcasting and Howard Stern. Howard Stern is a disc jockey in the New York area who is also syndicated in the Philadelphia area. Howard Stern talks to, over the course of any given week, well in excess of 1 million people. 1 million different people. His share in some areas is up to 30%. In other words, 30% of the audience listens to this man in some areas. The Federal Communications Commission, upon receiving a whopping total of 69 complaints against Howard Stern, all of them from an organized group, has come down hard and heavy. I don't think it's right. I should think that anyone who listens to talk radio shouldn't think it's right. And if you don't think it affects you, then I have some rather interesting information for you. Joining me in studio tonight for just a very few minutes is the executive producer here at WPLP, Joyce Bender. It is not my style to bring in my executive producer to kill a couple of minutes at the start of the show while I desperately wait for phone calls, as is the style of some people in this town. We won't mention any names, Hack. But I've brought Joyce in because she informed me of something shortly before going on the program, and it is mildly complicated, and I wanted to make darn sure that I didn't get anything backwards. I'd called Joyce earlier today from home and asked her to line up for me next Wednesday or Thursday night a representative from the Federal Communications Commission, so that we could go over with the Commission exactly what the problem is, precisely what it is that they have in mind. And I set Joyce on to the task of getting a guest from the FCC. Joyce, I'll let you pick it up from there. What happened?
Well, I called our local FCC office, and they told me that they don't handle those kind of things at all, that they're mainly just a monitoring system, and they aren't briefed in those matters, and...
So they don't know nothing. It's not their job.
That's right. They don't do that.
Okay, what next?
So they gave me an office to call in Washington, the FCC Broadcast Bureau, they called it, and I called up the Mass Media Bureau, which they directed me to. I was supposed to speak to someone called Donna Searcy there. And when I did that, they sent me down to Field Operations Bureau, who sent me back to the Mass Media Bureau, who sent me to the General Counsel's office, and then they sent me to someone called John Kemp of Public Affairs.
This is all on our dime, of course.
Of course, yes. So when I spoke finally to the Public Affairs office, they then told me I should go to the Mass Media Bureau again. So I finally found someone in the News Media Bureau, which I guess is some part of the Mass Media Bureau. I sort of lost track along my 7th or 8th time around.
I think we can all understand why.
Okay. Well, anyway, I spoke to someone there, and she said, well, you'll have to speak with Sally Lawrence, and she's the chief of the news media. That's what they said. Well, she did call me back, in essence. She said to me that they didn't want to get involved in those talk shows.
Well, what? They don't want to what?
They don't want to get involved in those talk shows, Bob.
They don't want to get involved in those talk shows. What do they mean by that?
Well, I didn't ask her what she meant by those talk shows, but she did elaborate on it a little bit. She said after the ruling came down on Friday, they were inundated with calls, and they just didn't want to get involved in it because...
Well, now, wait a second. They've put out this shotgun ruling, haven't explained what it means, and they don't want to get involved in it?
Well, she said to me that they're not looking to inhibit free speech at all.
Mm-hmm.
And what...
Or to promote it, apparently.
Well, I can't speak for Sally, Bob, but Ms. Sally Lawrence did say that they're receiving a lot of criticism on the issue, and they said it's new and...
They received more than 69 complaints, did she say?
I didn't get a chance to ask her that, Bob. She was rather hurried about it, but she did...
Strange number, too.
She did tell me that it's more flexible, these new rulings. They're more flexible, and it's up to the local broadcaster because the local broadcaster knows his audience better than anybody else, and they don't want to get involved in those talk shows because something they said or they would say on one of the shows might be held against them.
No, wait a second. Let me see if I have this correct. It is up to the local broadcaster because he knows his audience what is decent and what is indecent.
Well, she said to me, they know their audience, and she said, after all, you have Arbitron ratings and things like that help you to know your audience.
In other words, would help us to know whether or not we have children listening.
Well, she did mention that child issue.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's really interesting because I can't think of a talk station in this country that has any significant ratings, and most of them actually have 0 ratings in the 12 to 17 bracket.
Well,
so I guess we can therefore assume that we have no children listening whatsoever, and we can sit here and scream the F word.
Well, gee, I don't know about that, Bob, but she did make that issue when children are in the audience, is what she said. So you have to use your discretion and your good judgment as a broadcaster, I'm to assume, Bob, in case there might be children in the audience. But she did...
Do you think we could do what Mr. Rogers does in reverse, and instead of asking all the parents to leave the room, ask all the children to leave the room, and then we can talk dirty?
Well, I don't know. She said that maybe when this whole thing settles down, she'll be available to talk with us, and she will be sending us a copy of the recent ruling, and she will be sending us some of the letters or the complaint-type issues that involved the Howard Stern issue. There were 3 radio stations she cited, and she said she's going to be sending that along, and we'll be waiting with bated breath to receive that.
But they won't talk to us.
No, not now. No, they won't talk.
Is one of the reasons they won't talk to us because they're afraid of what they might say? Was there not some indication that they
Well, the indication was, as I understand it, Bob, was that they're in essence, I guess, afraid that if they say something in Tampa Bay that might be applicable to our situation and our audience, that people are going to construe that to all parts of the nation.
In other words, they don't know what they're talking about, and they're afraid of saying something and being held to it by someone in Santa Barbara, as an example.
I don't know. She seemed to say that it was whatever the market will allow. That's the indication I got from her when I spoke with her this afternoon.
All right, Joyce, I thank you very much for that. I thank you very, very much. This is the situation. The Federal Communications won't talk about it. Federal Communications Commission will not talk about it. And they have acted on an incredibly small number of complaints concerning quote-unquote indecent radio, but yet aren't awfully clear as to what indecent radio is. It's one of those things that they say, well, we'll know it when we hear it. Well, that simply is not good enough. It simply is not good enough. And so we are asking you to get off your duff, because a handful of prudish, fundamentalist, right-wing reactionaries have pressured the Federal Communications Commission into coming down hard and heavy on a handful of radio stations in this country, for the time being a handful of radio stations in this country. And if you don't like that, and I hope that you don't, we're going to ask you to do something about it. You always want to know, what can I do? Well, this is what you can do. You can invest 44 cents and send me a self-addressed stamped envelope. We shall get back to you by return mail a petition with room on it for 25 names. We ask you to get it filled out and to return it to us no later than the 4th of July, actually somewhat before then, because we wish to present the Federal Communications Commission on the 4th of July with hopefully a couple of 100,000 names. Now, I'm not expecting a couple of 100,000 people in Tampa Bay, but between Miami, Tampa, and Boston, it is a realistic number. And if free speech means anything to you whatsoever, anything whatsoever, then I would hope that you'll take the time to write down this address. Address it to SOFAR, S-O-F-A-R. Post Office Box 48579, 48579. St. Petersburg, 33743, 33743. I promise not to belabor this matter. I'm not going to. I'll let it go at that. If you'll let me give you the address one more time. SOFAR, P.O. Box 48579, St. Petersburg, 33743.
The phone numbers that put you on the air at WPLP are in Hillsborough County, 224-0057, in Pinellas County, 393-0057, and anywhere else toll-free, 1-800.
Today gave you, the citizens of the greater Tampa Bay area, the opportunity to vote on the name of this marvelous new domed facility that they're building. They selected two names and are allowing you to choose between the two. They're just so democratic there in St. Petersburg. The first name that you get a chance to choose is the Florida Suncoast Dome. Oh, that's real catchy, and if you like that, you're really going to love the second one. It is simply the Suncoast Dome. Now, your two choices are Florida Suncoast Dome and Suncoast Dome. I, however, have a third possibility. Now, they have given out 900 numbers where you can pay 50 cents to cast your vote for what's called the dome. We do not have a 900 number here. As a matter of fact, it doesn't cost you anything. But I have suggested the Honey Pot Dome. Unfortunately, I'm afraid a lot of you don't know what a honey pot is. And in view of the FCC's recent ruling, I would be hard-pressed to explain to you what a honey pot is. But nonetheless, if you like Honey Pot Dome, we'll be delighted to take your calls here at News Talk 57 WPLP. Tabulate the vote and forward it to the great city fathers. Flash, by the way, this just handed to me from the WPLP newsroom. No one has died in the custody of the Tampa Police Department so far today. Well, that's news. One additional thing I wanted to pass along. While dialing around today, I heard a telephone call. It was a familiar voice, one that I've heard on this station and hung up on a number of times. Just a sad, pathetic creature, and he asked a question. He said, "Why do some people hate fundamentalist Christians?" Well, allow me to attempt to answer that. Could it be that they're so intolerant? Could it be that they're so narrow-minded? Could it be that they're in favor of things like censorship? Could it be that they're so arrogant and self-righteous? Could it be the know-it-all attitude? Could it possibly be because fundamentalist Christians tend to live in a dream world? Or could it be that they tend to be a tad hypocritical? Now, perhaps you would like to answer this burning question. If so, be my guest. The question is, why do some people hate fundamentalist Christians? Between you and me, I frankly think they need to hear why it is that some people are so upset with fundamentalist Christians. Also, one final thing before we go to the telephones. I have made stars out of some callers in the year and a half that I've been here. I have literally made stars. I'm talking about people like Rocky, the rock and roll Klansman, or Southside Johnny, or Mr. Brevity, or the Brandon Brain Lady. But we're always looking for new stars. And if you would like to be a new star of talk radio, we'll be holding open auditions all night tonight. If you think you too could become one of the great characters of Tampa Bay talk radio, it's up to you. Open auditions all night. One line open, it's in Hillsborough, 224-0057, St. Petersburg. Hi, you're on the air at WPLP.
Yeah, I'd like to know who told you that this FCC ruling violates your First Amendment rights.
Nobody had to tell me, sir. I'm not one of those people that has to be told what to think.
Well, this is interesting because this ruling not only doesn't it violate your First Amendment rights.
Oh, I beg your pardon. It quite does.
Well, the reason why it doesn't is
what does the
because
First Amendment? What does the First Amendment protect?
The reason why.
What does the First Amendment protect?
Free speech.
No, unpopular speech.
Well,
that's what it protects, and the only exception to it is speech that damages or hurts another individual.
However, okay, you don't have free speech because you don't have the right to broadcast at all because you've been granted the privilege to broadcast.
No, I haven't, sir. No, sir.
License.
No, I don't have an FCC license, sir.
Oh, your station doesn't?
No, the station does, but I don't.
You see, you can go out and buy a newspaper or publishing rights or stand on a soapbox and have your First Amendment rights.
Yes, you also buy an FCC license, sir.
Yeah, that's granted to you.
No, sir, you buy it. No, you're quite wrong. It is not granted. It is purchased.
It is purchased, but according to your disclaimer every year, you are granted the license to...
No, you're granted a renewal. You're granted a renewal. The original license, the original construction permit is purchased from the government.
But the fact remains, we're not dealing with a private newspaper. We're dealing with something that no one can own.
Yes, we're dealing with the public airwaves. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. And 69 people in a metropolitan area of 8 million in Philadelphia and a metropolitan area of close to 20 million in New York, 69 people have dictated what will be heard by over 10% of the country. Yes, sir, they are public airwaves. I quite agree with you. They are public airwaves. And 69 fanatics, 69 prudes have strong-armed the Federal Communications Commission into coming out with a form of censorship.
We've got government commissions that act upon complaints.
Oh, really?
Glad. That's good.
16. I'm hard pressed. I'm hard pressed.
Like you.
I'm hard pressed, sir, to think about. Well, for example, how about if 69 people complained about sending money to Nicaragua?
Well, you'd have to prove that that's in violation of the law. What's wrong with that? Who are they going to complain to?
Sir, there was no violation of the law in the case of Howard Stern. He hasn't been indicted for anything. He hasn't been arrested for anything. He's just been told arbitrarily that if in the future he does it, he'll be in major trouble.
That's right.
So he's not in the violation of any law, sir, because no law exists. It is a ruling. It is an opinion.
Is that since no one owns the airwaves, it's up to the government to police them. It is up to the government, the Congress, the representatives of the people.
Well, sir, you're forgetting,
what shall go over the
you're forgetting a very major point, and we will not continue the discussion until you come back and address this point. Free speech is protected under the First Amendment of this country. Free speech under the First Amendment is what is unpopular. It gives you the right to say what is unpopular.
You have the right to say anything
unless it hurts somebody. Tell me, sir, what saying weenie, or who, by my saying weenie, in referring to the male member, tell me who that damages, sir. Tell me who that hurts.
That's a moot point.
No, it's not a moot point, sir. We're talking about a First Amendment right in this country. It is not a moot point. You tell me who it hurts. You tell me who it hurts. I mean, I don't care how much of a prude you are and how offensive you find it. It doesn't hurt or damage you. And you have the right, sir, to go over and turn it off.
And you have the right to say anything you please, but not over the public airwaves. You want to get a soapbox? Get a soapbox. You want to buy a newspaper? Buy a newspaper.
Oh, in other words, because you don't like something, I can't say it. Is that what you're telling me, sir?
I have the right to complain to the FCC.
I hope the rest of you are listening to this conversation. Shut up! I said, I hope the rest of you are listening to this conversation and are getting out your envelopes now, your self-addressed stamped envelopes, because this is what we're dealing with.
Yeah, that's what we're dealing with, all right?
Yeah, we're dealing with a prude who doesn't like it.
You think you own the airwaves.
Who doesn't even hear it.
You think you own
it doesn't even involve the Tampa Bay area. You don't even have to hear it. As you've already told me, you've never even heard Howard Stern.
I own the airwaves just as much as you or anybody else does.
You got it, fella. They are public airwaves, and 69 people like you are not going to control them.
Okay, friend? You better mind your P's and Q's, pal.
Oh, is that a threat?
Yeah.
Oh, how's that, sir?
Because I have to straighten out one of your other comments saying that the 200 complaints the FCC got about you was because you were running down the president. Wrong. They got complaints because of you openly advocating discrimination against religious groups based upon their religious beliefs. Why? Because I wrote some of them, pal.
Oh, really? What's your name?
What's my name?
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you my name.
Oh, why not, coward?
Too bad.
Why not, coward? You're the man that advocates a third-party boycott, which is a federal offense.
That's why, because
You're the man who has advocated a third-party boycott. Shut up! You're the man who has advocated a third-party boycott, which is a public offense, or a federal offense, excuse me. I'm not in the least bit surprised you would want to give us your name.
Well, why don't you go ahead and cite me the law, then?
Not up to
Boycotting is a federal offense.
A third-party boycott is.
This is great. Listen to this. Mr. First Amendment here, Mr. Freedom. Boycottings are illegal. What else should be illegal, Bob?
Oh, no, sir. I didn't say, sir, jerk. I didn't say boycotting is illegal. Third-party boycotting is illegal.
Where does it, well, tell me, where's the law that says so?
You'll find out if we ever find out who you are.
Oh, really? That's another muley threat.
Well, then why don't you give us your name?
I'm not going to give, because I've received threats from you and your station already.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Cite them.
Threats.
Physical threats from me and my station.
That's right.
Oh, you're just a hopeless liar, and you call yourself a Christian.
Want me to tell you the people who threaten me? You want me to give you their names?
Yeah.
Let's see. One is named Johnson.
Johnson,
The other one, yeah, that's his last name.
Uh-huh.
And the other one's name is Connolly.
Uh-huh.
How do you like that, pal?
Well, why don't you file charges since you've made accusations?
Why, I don't need to.
Oh, you don't need to?
No, because I know they don't know who I am.
Oh.
I'm going to keep it that way.
Yeah, we know who you are. You're a blatant liar.
Yeah, I'm a liar.
That's right.
I'm a liar. Yeah.
You're a liar unless and until you back up the accusations.
Well,
you are a liar.
The party's over, pal, and you're going to have to start minding your P's and Q's.
Oh, really?
Respect the other people in this country who also own the public airways.
Uh-huh.
The public airways, not your little private party line.
Uh-huh.
If you want to have your little private party line, go buy yourself a cable show.
Really?
You liberal geeks were crying about Playboy on cable, and all you liberals are saying, well, it's not like it's being broadcast.
Uh-huh.
Now that obscenities are being broadcast, all you liberals wimp out and want to change the...
Oh, you want to talk about wimps? You're the wimp, baby.
Yeah.
You're the wimp. You're the wimp who sits there anonymously making accusations that you can't back up. You're the wimp who sits there violating the federal law of this nation and won't come forward. That's right, a third-party boycott's a violation of a federal law.
Pocket, pal. I don't have no license in my pocket.
That's right.
Yeah.
You got it, baby.
You gotta stop being a little more responsible with yours.
Oh, really? I don't have one. I already told you that.
Well, your station,
I don't need one.
You know what I mean. Your station. You better stop minding your P's and Q's.
Well, why don't you come forward and file a formal complaint so we can get your name? Because you know what happens when we get your name, punk?
That.
You go to jail.
I go to jail.
That's
really.
right.
Yes.
Because you have advocated a third-party boycott. You see, little boy, you are so stupid. You don't quite understand what the law is.
Yeah,
if you want to boycott WP, if you'll shut up a second, jerk, I'll explain it to you. If you would like to boycott WPLP, that's perfectly fine. That is well within your legal rights. But when you suggest that people boycott the sponsors of WPLP, then you have committed a third-party Boycott.
Yeah, and I need you to tell me what statute that is, and where does it say it?
You'll find out, little boy.
Well, that's interesting, since the civil rights movements of the early 60s, that was done in quite a few times.
And guess what?
What?
We just put a tap on this call. We now know who you are.
Good.
Bye-bye, little boy.
To join in the conversation, the number to call in Hillsborough County is 224-0057. In Pinellas County, 393-0057. And anywhere else in Florida, 1-800-334-0057.
Of modern-day electronics. I wonder if the name Thomas Stratford means anything to our last caller. St. Petersburg, you're on the air at WPLP. Hi, you're on the air at WPLP.
Yes, Mr. Lassiter.
Yes, sir.
This is my first time calling, and I'd like to touch on the issue of the Christian situation that you brought up. I think that a lot of this pressure that they're putting on us, including the FCC ruling, is basically our own fault. I think that a lot of people out there like myself believe in live and let live type situation. I'm not a church-going person or anything like that, but I've always believed in, you do your thing and I do mine. But it seems to me that they're getting organized, or have been organized, and getting stronger all the time. I was at a restaurant last week with some friends. We were sitting talking, and it was nothing vulgar or derogative of any type of discussion being said, when shortly after we were there, the manager came over and stated that the lady in the booth next door, which had been conversing with her friend about religion all the time that we were there, said that our conversation was offensive to her, and for the manager to come over and ask us to stop or to remove ourselves from the place. And there was really nothing vulgar or nothing that couldn't be said over the radio that was being discussed at that table. I think that's a bit pushy. And one thing that they're doing is they're affecting people to the point now where I think people are going to start getting organized and put a stop to this.
People better start getting organized and put a stop to this.
Well, sir, I can guarantee you for one, first of all, they drove me to make a call that I've never talked to a talk radio before. And second of all, I'm putting my self-addressed stamped envelope in the mail tonight.
I thank you very much for that.
And you keep up the good work, sir.
I'll try.
Thank you.
Be good.
Bye-bye.
That opens up a line in Hillsborough, 224-0057, 224-0057. Dunedin, hi, you're on the air at WPLP.
Okay, sir. The question I have, first of all, is what is a talk show, radio show?
Well, it's generally thought to mean a telephone talk show. What you're listening to right now.
Okay, does that mean there's a two-way communication?
As a general rule of thumb, that is the accepted definition for a talk show.
Okay. And that means that it's not edited or censored?
Edited or censored?
It is
Well, it's live.
It's live.
It's live. It runs on a 3-second delay.
Okay, but in order to get on your show, do you understand that one can be censored before he gets there?
That's correct.
And also, once he gets on your show...
But, sir, it is not the government doing the censoring.
No.
It is a private individual decision.
Let's forget it. I think I love the government and the fact that what they're trying to do here, they're trying to protect us. I happen to be one of those brain...
Trying to protect you from what, sir?
Protect
you from what?
People who have the audacity to think that they have the privilege of insulting me and the neighborhood and everybody else.
Oh, sir, I beg your pardon. You're free to insult me. I'm free to insult you. This is America, sir. You can insult anybody you want to.
I'm going to give you an insult. I'm going to call you a pig.
Oh, my goodness.
And you know what kind of a pig that is?
What kind of a pig is that, sir?
That's back where you came from the 60s. They call male chauvinist pig.
Oh, really? You apparently don't know what a male chauvinist pig is.
Well, you certainly personify it beautifully.
Oh, you're quite wrong, jerk. I'd suggest you go and look up the definition of chauvinist before you make another phone call.
Oh.
You can read, can't you?
I read very well.
Could have fooled me.
And
matter of fact, you did.
There you go. You male chauvinist pig.
Right.
You feel that you're the smartest person in the world.
No, sir, I
You
don't.
go around insulting
You apparently
everybody.
think I am,
And
though.
why bring this character out of New York down here?
Nobody's trying to bring this character out of New York down here, sir.
That's a New York problem. That's
Sir, nobody's trying to bring him down here, are they? But I guess you didn't bother to read about that.
Oh, yes, sir, I've read about it.
Oh, you've read about it? Tell me, sir, where you read that people are trying to bring Howard Stern to Tampa Bay.
I listened to your program earlier this evening, and there was a knowledgeable person on there who was telling about what happened and everything. And, you can have a very informative program, and you're a very smart person. What I don't know...
Oh, really, sir? I thought I was very dumb. Just a second ago, I was very dumb.
No. Well, you're
My,
a male
how quickly I have.
chauvinist pig. That's one thing. But
Chauvinist,
you're a
sir.
very smart person.
Chauvinist.
Male chauvinist pig.
Right, I really hate to see you embarrass yourself, but if you insist, I will no longer try to set you straight.
But you are a smart person, and you can offer an awful lot to the community. But take the chip off your shoulder a little bit and understand where we're coming from.
Sir, I couldn't care less. Sir, I couldn't care less where you're coming from, and how dare you have the audacity to call me up and tell me how to behave?
Well, because you try to tell us how to behave.
No, I don't try to tell you how to behave, sir.
You're telling us that we should be like you.
No, sir, I've never said any such thing.
Oh, no.
I wouldn't suggest that anyone be like me. I'm a recluse,
Our
sir.
way, if you don't do it my way, then you don't belong on this earth.
Sir, I've never said any such thing.
Oh, you imply it.
Oh, imply it, sir. I cannot help, sir. Sir, I cannot help what you infer from your ignorance.
I think, Mr. Bob Lassiter, that you have to take a good hard look, and you know, and I know there's only about 1/2 or 1% of the people that call in, and you're now out there on the airwaves trying to get somebody to support your cause.
No, sir, it's not my cause. Sir, it's not my cause. You see, I don't deal in that type of radio, so it's not my cause.
Oh, sure you do type of that radio.
No, sir, I don't.
Sure you do.
Well, again, sir, obviously you haven't read about it, because you don't even know what the issue is.
To tell you, Mr. Bob Lassiter, is this one thing. I love you very much for your intelligence, and when you make a monologue, it makes good sense.
That's right, sir.